Foraged horseradish sauce, anyone?
Hello, Carl here again from selfsufficienthub.com, and we're out foraging again, and I want to talk to you about this plant behind me. So it is mid-July. This is one of the best times to find this plant. It might not be the best time to dig it up, but it's one of the best times to find it because these leaves shoot up and stand so tall. It's a horseradish plant. You might confuse the leaves for some of the dock species because they've got the same sort of big green leaves, but there's a couple of key differences that make it really easy to identify. And the first of which is the sort of the glossy nature to the leaves. If I just pick one here and show you, you see it's a little bit glossy, whereas dock leaves are always much more matte and almost sort of furry. The second key identifier is the serrated edge to the leaves. So if I show you there, you see that serrated edge. It's really quite apparent when you look out for it, that serrated edge to the leaves. So it grows in clumps like this. It's also got quite a distinctive smell, or horseradishy smell, if that makes any sense to you. Now, of course, horseradish, the bit we actually want is the root. Now, this plant can grow up to a metre tall. I mean, we're almost there with some of these. And you can actually eat the leaves. The younger leaves, down here we've got a slightly younger one here. And you can eat these raw in salads or cooked. They don't have a very, very strong flavour, but they do have that slight bitterness that we associate with a lot of forage plants, the ones that are perhaps less sought after. But it's perfectly palatable, and included in a salad, it would actually be quite nice. But it's the root, which is the part of the plant that is mostly sought after. I'm going to do a second part of this video, which you're going to see in just a second, and that's back in my garden, because in my garden I've got some of this growing, and we're going to be able to dig up a bit of the root there, because the law states that you can't actually dig up the roots of these plants if you don't have the landowner's permission. So we're going to go back to my garden where we're going to dig some up, and we're going to actually make some horseradish sauce from it, show you how to do that. Now, I don't know if you eat much sushi, but we do. And if you're in the UK and you eat sushi and you get the wasabi paste, usually 99 times out of 100, that wasabi paste isn't actually made from the wasabi plant. It's made from horseradish here in the UK and just sold as wasabi. You might be quite surprised. So, yeah, that's something. You can make your own wasabi from the horseradish plant. So this is our plant in our garden. So this is your standard horseradish shape. I'm going to dig up one of the roots now. So like I say, if you're out on public land, you're not allowed to dig up roots. But here in our garden, that's why we've got it here. The plant will propagate itself with the tubers. So it's a perennial and it's pretty hardy, so it'll look after itself. So we don't have to worry about digging up the odd root or two every year. It will just take care of itself. So it's a great plant to introduce to your garden. So that one's snapped. We've lost half of that, so I'm going to dig down and make sure that we, well, actually I might leave it in the ground because that one will grow for next year anyway. So we'll do a better job on this one. Around here. So this is actually a smaller root. That first one you can see was much thicker, so we'll try and get all of this. There you go. So that's a typical horseradish root, and we're going to take these in now and make them into horseradish sauce, which, like I say, if you want to dye it green, then what you've got is exactly what they'll sell you in the supermarkets as wasabi with your sushi. Now obviously before we go in, we've got one last job to do here, which is to cut the leaves off and put them in our compost pile, which is conveniently just the other side of this wall. Now, as I say, you can eat the leaves, but at this time of year we've got an abundance of fresh greens, so we don't need to worry about saving these for the table. They can go straight in the compost to be recycled into goodness for our annual vegetable bed next year. We've got back, and here is our horseradish. And like I said before, horseradish in this country, in the UK, and probably America as well, I believe. I don't know about the Antipodes, but if you're buying wasabi or you're eating wasabi in a sushi restaurant, then you're probably eating horseradish with a green dye in it. So consider this a recipe for wasabi or horseradish. So we're just going to quickly peel the roots. Strictly speaking, I suppose you could just wash them really well, but they're so gnarly that it's probably going to be easier and quicker to just peel them, and we're not in short supply of root, so I'm going to peel them. Something to be aware of when you're working with fresh horseradish is that it gives off a scent that your eyes will pick up, just like onions, only it can be quite a lot stronger. Everything about this is going to be very strong. It's going to be a lot stronger than a horseradish sauce or a horseradish paste than you're going to buy. So you're not going to need as much of it. And then we're just going to chop it up quite finely. You could grate it, because the next step is going to be a blender. So there you go, chopped up nice and fine. That's about as fine as that's going to get in there without some moisture. So the next thing we're going to add is some apple cider vinegar, and it's homemade apple cider vinegar. I've done another video on that if you wanted to see how you make it. Super simple. And you want about half the amount of apple cider vinegar as there is horseradish. And however much you have of the horseradish, you want to put about half that amount of the apple cider vinegar. One thing the apple cider vinegar will do is it will stabilize the heat that's coming off the horseradish. So you're going to want to do it fairly soon after you start processing it. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Now if you want at this stage, you can add some sour cream if you want a creamier sauce. Personally, A, we don't have any to hand, and B, I'm not that bothered by having it anyway. I like it just as it is. This is going to go perfectly with beef. There you go.
Foraged horseradish sauce, anyone?
If you find these videos valuable, there's several ways you can support them, and the easiest of which is to subscribe to our channel. Make sure you don't miss out on videos like this. I try and produce a foraging video at least once a week. You can also like this video. Please do that right now. Press that like button. Leave a comment down below. And you can also find us elsewhere online. We've got a Facebook group, Self-Sufficient Hub, and we've also got the Self-Sufficient Hub podcast. So come find us elsewhere. Cheers. See you on the next one.